Not usually the guy who sits next to you.
No, you're not. And today, we at Paradox Engine are going to talk about the Surfside tournament that we went to in San Diego. I'm Devin. This is...
I'm Donzo the Ice Stealer, also known as your favorite Dyno player.
And what we want to start with is how the tournament setting is. When we went there, it was a pretty big store.
Yeah,
It was a really big store. It had a lot of comics, figurines, singles, and it had a really good play area. The play area was really big. It was spacious. Everyone was able to sit down and have more than enough room to play. And the atmosphere was almost like it was going to like a draft or going to a casual event where everyone just gets to have fun and play. First, now we're going to talk about what decks we played against.
What deck did you play, though? First, let's actually start out with that. Yeah,
let's start with that. I played Omnixilus, the Captive Kingpin, 4-drop Rakdos Commander. Whenever one or more opponents take damage, I'm able to exile the top card of my library and give them a +1/+1 counter, and I can play that card until the end of the turn. It also has Flying and Trample. Sometimes that matters.
Sometimes. He gets big really fast if he's just pinging people and swinging.
Yeah.
But jumping off of that, I played Jensen Luris. Luris as the companion because Jensen obviously doesn't have partner, but everybody and their mom had partner at that tournament. But we'll get to that later. I was playing a Hermit Druid variant that I have been now realizing isn't good as a Hermit Druid deck. It's much better as a Storm Conflux deck, which you'll probably be seeing if you see me at a tournament, you'll probably be seeing that instead.
Most decks we played against were mostly cookie cutter decks. Blue Farm, Tivit, Malcolm and Timna, Najila, Kinnan. They're decks that we see a lot of, and they all play a certain way. None of the decks were out of the ordinary. I did see a mirror match in my round 1. Other than that, every deck that we played against seemed kind of
uniform.
What we expected to see.
Yeah, very uniform. A lot of the new Lord of the Rings cards that everybody has been like praising on and like talking about have definitely made their appearance known. Orcish Bowmasters is quite strong.
It is.
Yeah.
It could have won me a game, but my commander was bounced before it could have resolved.
It could have won a lot of games. I've seen it win games just on its own, just chilling.
But yeah, most of the decks we played against, they were all uniform. There was nothing in the decks that were surprising. A lot of the players played the decks how any other player would play it. Normal intuition lines, normal combo pieces that you see, normal stacks pieces you see. Some decks did play more stacksy than others, and that's why I noticed a lot of players are trying to play more reserved, whereas my deck is more gas. So it made a lot of sense why my deck didn't perform as well as it should have, since I was doing a whole bunch of flashy mechanics that dealt damage to everyone while also presenting me a larger hand. So I had more advantage than everyone, so it made sense why I was targeted out in the beginning.
Yeah, I was the exact opposite. All of the people I played against, they let me do whatever I wanted, but that's just because they were like, what is this dude doing? What is this dude doing? How does Jensen Luris win? Which made me realize I probably should just go Storm instead of Hermit Druid because it's really hard to give Hermit Druid haste.
That makes sense. Let's see. What was your most fun game, I want to say, out of all of them?
Probably my last one. As I mentioned, almost all of the cedh players let me do whatever I want, but that's because I play... Like, personality-wise, I know I play a bit of, like, a trickster role in terms of that's my archetype as a player. I'm like, I'm here to do craziness and win off of the fact that you literally have no idea what I'm doing. The meme, never let them know your next move. That's me. That's how I play. So they were trying to figure out how I was going to win, which they allowed me to Ragavan for the first 3 turns, get not 1, but 2 Tainted Packs off, Underworld Breach twice, and then Mystical Tutor for the Demonic Consultation with Veil of Summer, knowing I had the Thassa's Oracle in hand, and then they tried to wheel me, but I had Luris on field, and Luris kind of...
able to cast everything from grave.
Yeah, I just cast Thassa's Oracle, and then Demonic Consultation, and they just looked at me like, we can't stop you, and I was like, Pity. And that was against Blue Farm, Temur Pirates, and Kenrith Midrange, I believe. The dude never really told me what that deck was. I think he was just mad because he's like playing against me and I don't radiate cedh energy. I radiate. Let's play. This is a game now.
Makes sense. My favorite game was probably my round 1 game. That's where there was another Obnixos at the table.
Oh, God.
If we decided to not butt heads and just let the game ride for as long as we could so we get as much value as we could and then fight each other at the end, it probably would have been a way better game. But the Atraxa player attempted to win at one point. I think it was about turn 4, turn 5. He went Thassa's Consultation, but I had an Esper Sentinel on board. And I had a Deadly Rollick in Exile with Obnixos on board. So I just cast Deadly Rollick and forced him to draw. So I took him out of the game with so much ease. And then because me and the other Obnixos player were fighting each other so much, the Kaikar player just ended up winning on his turn. He went Draenith, then Underworld Breach, and just went off from there.
Yeah, Underworld Breach is a strong red card.
Yes,
Red has a lot of
yes, it
strong
is.
cards.
Especially with Kaikar, that generates a lot of mana.
Yeah, Kaikar is just like, oh, hey, you look away. Oh, wow, there's like 30 of these spirits, and now they have 30 red mana. Oh, what do I do now?
And since one of the blue players was taken out early, Kaikar was the only blue player, and he didn't have to use any responses on me or Obnixos because we were just fighting each other the entire time.
You got into the old measuring contest.
Yeah. But other than that, everyone was friendly. Everyone was nice. By the end of the day, I was able to see some players get irritated with just how their games have been going, and I can understand how that stress like builds up because your deck that you've played and perfected, in your opinion, all the way
spent money on,
and spent money on, didn't perform as well as you thought it would. It happens. I originally came from Yu-Gi-Oh! I've spent hundreds of dollars on decks. I've went to tournaments, never made top cut. It happens.
Them's the breaks.
It is.
This was my first tournament in a competitive like card game setting. I've done a lot of fighting game tournaments. That's where I come from. So competition is always like, sometimes you just are not able to like do what you want to do, and you just kind of have to go to the drawing board. And that's like what I've always liked about cedh is that it's like, the games like you can push the game as much as you want, and that's where you're really going to see that's how you're going to see the meta change. And so like, as an example, I don't run Dockside. I know a lot of people are going to flame me for this, but I think Dockside is a weird card because while it's so easy to go infinite with, obviously, but if you don't play Dockside, it gets worse with each less Dockside in a deck.
I understand. I can see that. Because once you play Dockside and then someone plays the Dockside right after you, you're now stuck in the option of, do I stack my treasures or do I give this man all the mana in the world?
That's how I lost my game 3. One guy wouldn't sack his Dockside treasures. He was playing Omnath, and I was just like, dude, like, sack your treasures. And he's like, I'll wait. And then dude just kept doing cedh chains and kept flickering Dockside and got all of his stuff. And I was just like...
Rule 1 of playing Dockside. If you're not the first one to play Dockside, sack your treasures to the second person playing Dockside.
Please. Please.
You do not want to give your opponents that much advantage.
Yeah.
But other than that, what was your main takeaway since this was your first cedh event?
It was, like, a lot of people will be like, oh, it was educational. For me, it was telling, because it's like, a lot of the people tried to sandbag correctly, but I felt like they put them in positions that just would lose them the game. With the exception of my first game, there was no way you could have known. Dude had like the entire win con turn 1 and just went.
That's what happened in my 5th game.
Yeah.
Kinnan turboed out turn 2 and no one had responses. 3 blue players. I'm playing Rakdos. No one had a single counter spell for the Kinnan. Yeah. And it was unfortunate, but that's how games go.
Yeah. And so like that's like the thing I've learned is that it's like you going grindier might actually be the future. Like we might see the pendulum swing as more data comes out in terms of more grindcore games, which allows like probably my deck, which is a more grindier deck, I realize now, to like flourish because people are going to be like playing less safe. So if you play a bit more safely or a bit more smarter, however you say that, you might actually be able to turn the corner and like win more games that you probably should not have won or like wouldn't have presented themselves originally.
That's really good. My major takeaway is that you should always play your game as well as you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Turbo decks, sadly, I think are getting a lot of hate right now just because, yeah, they're able to win super fast, super consistently, but that does paint a target on your back, which allows other decks who are more mid-range focused / stacks oriented to just take over.
Yeah, I definitely see out of this tournament, I definitely probably see like maybe in a year or two we'll start seeing more red list decks because the reliance on like stuff like Dockside, Extortionist, Underworld Breach, we'll start seeing hate for it. And so in a year, you'll start seeing those like cards being like pushed out or hated on because people will either adapt or you never know, someone will find some weird tech that just completely opens it, which will probably be a legacy player who's just like, oh, cedh, let's try it.
Yep. In 2 months, there's going to be another event that we're going to go to called Silicon Dynasty 2.
Yep.
You might want to catch us there. We'll gladly talk to you, explain how our thought process is and everything. Other than that, that's going to be it for us today. Thank you for joining us on Bridging the Gap. Subscribe, like the video.
Follow the socials.
Follow the socials, and hope to see you again.
Yes, sir.
See you guys later.